guys! Thank you for tuning in. I'm Rosie of Rose Greenery. I am a plantita from Quezon City, Philippines. Welcome to my channel. For today's Meet My Plant episode, I would like you guys to meet one of the prettiest houseplants I have. This is the Philodendron Burle Marx. Wow! This girl is one of the easiest tropical plants I've grown. I got this plant last November, shipped from Antique, which I featured in my episode 12, my plant unboxing. So that was her when I got her. I think she only had about a dozen leaves at that time, and she would easily reward you with fast, vigorous new growth. Wow! She has beautiful, long and glossy heart-shaped leaves, and she's a must-have plant if you're into tropical home jungle. Well, just look at her. She has already gotten so big. I've had her for 5 months now, and hindi ko na alam kung saan ko siya ipapwesto kasi matatakpan niya ako. Ayan, look. Okay, so dyan ka muna. So just like any other philodendrons I have, she's easy to care for, very low maintenance. Well, in her native environment, she grows parasitically on the trunk of trees and fallen old growth. Philodendron Burle Marx are actually epiphytes, meaning they prefer to grow aerial roots and wrap themselves around dead trees, branches, and rock walls in humid environment. And these can grow as tall as 10 feet tall in their native environment. Well, if you'll notice, she's heavy on top, and I've just used this small bamboo stick to help her support all the weight, and I just tied it using a twine or a jute string. So how do I care for this plant? Disclaimer, I'm not a plant expert, I'm just a plant enthusiast, and I'm describing her to you based from my experience in taking care of her. So I keep my Philodendron Burle Marx up in our shaded roof deck under my plant shelves. She gets bright indirect light and direct morning sunlight at least 2 hours a day. She can tolerate a moderate light environment, but she will thrive more under bright indirect light. Well, if you have her indoors in a low light space, I would advise you to consider a small grow light for her, and also try to reward her at least once a week with that bright natural light that she needs. So try to bring her outdoors once in a while, like once a week if you keep her in a low light space indoors. Also, avoid placing her in direct sunlight after 10 a.m., especially this summer season, because her foliage may burn. Now, since I have her behind my other plants, it's kind of hard for me to reach her to water her regularly. So what I did, I gave her this tray with pebbles, which I refill with water every 2 to 3 days. She then started to grow longer roots, which grew out from the bottom holes of her pot. So I don't water her much directly into the ground. I only refill her tray with water every 2 to 3 days whenever I find her tray dry. And for somehow, her medium always stayed moist that way. Now, I have her in a nursery pot with a lot of... Oh no! No! Are you okay? Okay. Well, I actually have her in a nursery pot with lots of holes underneath, and since I have her in a tray with water all the time, she can drink as much as she wants, and that kept her medium moist. But note that her pot is standing on these pebbles, so her pot or soil doesn't get soaked in water all the time. So there's really still space between the pot and the water. And I'm actually surprised how fast the water dries up in her tray. Especially kapag tirik yung araw ngayong summer, I always find her tray almost dry just after 24 hours sa sobrang init. Well, sometimes I shower her with water and try to mist her leaves, but very seldom since I have her sitting right next to my humidifier. as I've read that in her native environment, she loves high humidity. Although this plant, she can actually tolerate low humidity, and she won't mind if you keep her in dry spaces, but she will definitely reward you with more babies and healthier leaves if she constantly gets that high humidity. Now, I know that my setup with her is not common with other plantitas or plantitos out there. Since I have her in a nursery pot, plus I have her next to a humidifier. Well, if you have this plant indoors where it doesn't get too hot and dry, and if you keep her in a regular pot with just one small hole at the bottom, just make sure her medium is moist, not wet or soggy. Well, you could try to give her once a week a full bath, and in between you could try to sprinkle her with water or spray her medium or soil just to keep her moist, given that you have her in a bright area. And for this baby, I have noticed that ever since I have her next to the humidifier, she has been producing bigger and larger leaves. Just like this group of leaves I have in here, they actually catch all the moisture from my humidifier, and since then, as in parang mas lumaki yung leaves niya and mas naging healthier. Compared to the old leaves, they are actually smaller than the new ones. Philodendron Burle Marx, they actually thrive in moist medium or soil high in organic matter. So when I repotted this one, I used 50% carbonized rice hull or yung sunog na ipa, then 30% cocoa peat, and another 20% for loam soil. In terms of fertilizing, philodendrons actually benefit from a balanced fertilizer every 1 to 2 months. For this one, I actually use Osmocote on her, which is a slow-release fertilizer. Well, I've only given her 1 scoop of Osmocote once or twice since I got her. Like any other philodendrons, they are actually poisonous or toxic when ingested, so make sure you keep them away from your children or your pets. In terms of propagation, well, you could simply propagate this baby through stem cuttings. But for this baby, I won't be able to propagate her yet. I don't have any more soil available. It's been more than a month of ECQ, so, you know, maybe after May 15, I'll be able to propagate her. And besides that, I actually love how she looks right now. So, alam mo yun, kapag pinutol ko siya, baka magtampo siya sa akin. But if you want to propagate her, just check for tiny bumps in the stem and look for healthy aerial root growth. Just cut a few cm under it, put it in water, then wait for roots to develop. As for this plant, I could try to cut her in this part of the stem. Then I'll put her in water and wait for more roots to develop. So far, I've never had any problems with this plant. As in, nagugulat na lang ako kung gaano kadami na yung leaves niya na binibigay sa akin. Wow. And in terms of pests, I've never seen any bugs or pests on her before. And I love how beautifully she has grown for the past 5 months being with me. Overall, I would recommend this plant for a beginner. She's very low maintenance and a fast grower. And yeah, that's all I have to share for this plant. I hope you find this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, just let me know. I would love to answer your questions. Also, if you have any other tips or experience with taking care of this plant, comment below. I would love to hear your story. And also, if you like this video, please hit on like. You could also share this and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so you won't miss any future episodes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, yours!